I started when I was 25. I had a glass of carrot juice for the first time, and it blew my mind. It changed my health, changed the way I saw the world, and the way I saw the planet, and the way that I saw how each and every decision that I make on a daily basis can actually make a small difference in the world. Then I dropped out of university and bought my first juicer, and decided that I wanted to, share it with more and more people. I started with a little juice cart, and I guess it was what pop-up, the whole idea of pop-ups, that's what I was doing. I started popping up all over the place. I would get there like an hour before, and as people were arriving, if they wanted a juice or something healthy that was plant-based, they would come to me first. And then people would be like, well, where will you be next? How can we find you? They would have a carrot, beet, apple, ginger immune boost, and they would want another one and wouldn't know where to go. It propelled me forward to find a permanent location. My first semi-permanent location was at the Bamboo Club in Toronto. It was Toronto's first reggae club. I convinced the owners to let me set up on their patio, and I would juice from 11:30 in the morning till last call. But then at night, they were taking my drinks and my smoothies and mixing them with shots of alcohol at the bar. So I would go to last call, and then I would tear down, and then I would take a taxi to the food terminal at 4:30 in the morning, get all my produce, drop it off at the Bamboo Club, prep, lug, because I had to lock all my juicers in this back room, this boiler room, and lug my juicers out front, set up, and then juice all day to last call again. One of my customers who became a very regular customer was this developer, and he was developing the Queen Street Market across from City TV. And he invited me to set up a permanent location. I didn't even hire a lawyer. We just, I was like, okay, that would be great. I need to do this, and so he leased me a 400 square foot space. Anyways, I signed this 5-year lease, and because I was across from City TV and Much Music, I was just, it was just one of those lucky star moments. All these people from south of the border that were coming to do intimate interactive interviews and stuff, and they were all hip to juicing and vegan food and wheatgrass, and I was the only one in the city doing it, and I was right across the street. So I started getting these calls. I'd pick up the phone, it'd be like, I swear to God, it would be Steve Tyler, but he'd be like, I need 10 ounces of wheatgrass this afternoon, we're performing tonight. And Lenny Kravitz told me my juice tasted really good. It was just like, it was a crazy time. And sometimes I would cross the street with the stuff that they asked for right on air. I'd walk right on camera because they thought it would. And I think it was from Much Music's perspective, they just thought it was kitschy and funny, and they were almost kind of half making fun of me, like it was a joke. But the people who wanted it and needed it, took it seriously. I took it seriously, and I was willing to sort of be made fun of. So I went into this Hungarian schnitzel house that I thought really shouldn't. I thought their time was up, and it was my turn. So I went in and I said, I am Ruth, I have a vegan restaurant and juice bar, and I really like your space, and how's it going? And they're like, well, as a matter of fact, we are looking to sell our business. At that point, that was when I needed to go to the bank and get a loan, because I agreed to pay them all this money that I didn't have. This customer of mine who was an accountant and was informally advising me, I asked him to personally guarantee a loan for me so that I could get my permanent location, my restaurant location. And he had become so invaluable to me as a informal advisor that I also offered him a chunk of my business. I didn't want anything in return other than his undivided attention. Barry Alpert came on board, and he helped me write my business plan and secure my first proper SBIL. And nobody knew about him. He was my snuffleupagus for a couple of years. It was all such new territory, running a plant-based business, and there was nobody else in the restaurant industry that was doing what we were doing the way we were doing it, and I reserved the right to make mistakes and learn along the way, but to follow my gut. And then as we developed trust, and as I developed a real respect for his understanding of my business and of the industry that I was in, you know, I allowed him to come out of the closet, and that was the best decision I ever made, I think, because I probably wouldn't be here today if I hadn't, you know, recognized that I needed help. My customers and potential customers and the people that I wanted to attract all lived in the neighborhood. Very community-based neighborhood with this big park and great schools, but also just on the other side of these residential streets were a lot of warehouses and a lot of creative agencies and offices. The community was much more savvy on a design tip, that having it architecturally designed and having it look good and be a space that these cool people would want to be in was key. So we hired designers and who also were game-changing for us. We wrapped the space in this wood that was like an orange peel and all these different layers of a citrus fruit. And yeah, we won a ton of awards for it. The brand is known for its integrity and its authenticity. There are so many ways along the road that we've taken where we could have made choices that would have eroded the integrity or the authenticity of the brand for instant, you know, more material success at the time. If you had organic chicken on the menu, more people would come in the door, or, you know, there are all these things that seem like obvious choices to get more people in the door, but that I, because of my personal commitments, could never do. We know who we are and everybody else does too, and there's no faking it. And so I'm very, very, very proud of that. You know, at the time I really wasn't thinking about, you know, how successful I might want to be, or even about a career or making money or anything. It was more about spreading the word and helping other, you know, sort of lighting that fire for everybody else the way it had been for me. I was pretty tired of always having to ask, you know, what's in this? What are the ingredients in this? What are the hidden ingredients in this? There were very few cookbooks back then, and so as I developed these recipes and saw that people were enjoying them and my knowledge base expanded, I wanted to, not only through my locations, but also through sharing the recipes, inspire people to cook like this at home. It turned out to be this wonderful marketing tool because I had never paid for publicity or PR or advertising. It gave me something to go on air and to promote, and by virtue of the cookbook, I ended up talking about the restaurant and getting people curious. We launched craft cocktails at all the locations about 3 years ago. And what we were missing was this, you know, a real craft cocktail bar aspect to the concept. Front Street was the first time that we actually have a proper bar, like a beautiful, not half-assed bar, but like, you know, like deep and comfortable with velvet back stools and a bar riser. Once we did that and launched it and saw how successful it was, it made me look at the other 4 locations and see where can we bring what we're doing at Front Street, this evolution of the brand and what we offer, you know, the whole bar side of things, to our other locations. And so Fresh on Spadina is a renovation. We took a really dark 15-year-old space and gave it a complete makeover, and it's just been so beautiful. And that's sort of the wave of the future now. That's just been the turning point. Today, I think that the last remaining challenge for us was the service and the environment, even though we had done pretty well to this point, but there was a whole other level that we hadn't aspired to, and now I think we've knocked it out of the park. What's in store for Fresh, is the same that it has been all these years. Continues to be about reaching more people. So how do we do that? We open in more neighborhoods that our guests are asking us to come to. We continue to make inroads in people's lifestyles and health by being as accessible as we possibly can to them. I really want to prove what we do in non-urban communities. In Toronto, I think we're at 5 now. I think we'll probably have another one here in Toronto. And south of the border, again, for me, a personal milestone will be to open in Los Angeles. We have a space and we've finished the design process, and so we'll be opening our first LA location in June, and that's the 50-yard line. I'm just stoked to bring what we do fully baked now to LA. I want to crush it in Los Angeles and the West Coast, and bring a Canadian brand there. When the demand outstrips your ability to service it, you can see it at the front door when you can't get everyone in. The wait times are long. Delivery has been a game changer. It's just changed everything for us, because now our dining rooms are full, but there's a whole hidden pressure in the kitchen, because it's not just the chits coming in from the room, but it's also the online stuff. When things sort of come to a standstill in the room and the output, that's when you sort of know, okay, either we grow this location, do things, grow the kitchen, or we start to spread the demand. Our guests are very vocal about the neighborhoods that they want us to come to. And when they start asking you to come to their neighborhood, that's usually a good indicator. That, combined with the fact that you've maxed out at the location you're in, to my eye, that's how it becomes really obvious. And losing sales. When people stop me all the time and say, I couldn't get in, I couldn't get a table, the wait times are so long. I'm like, okay, it's a good problem to have, but it's at a certain point you have to break through that and keep growing. The obvious classic answer would be passion and drive. But passion and drive can come from a business, it can come from a business side. It doesn't always have to come from a creative side. My dad was an entrepreneur, so I had it in me, and he, I think I had the inclination to be business-minded, but I didn't have the training. To this moment, there are parts of my business that I would like to be involved in and be, sort of have control over, but I recognize that for the betterment of my business, it's better if other people do those things, because they're just better at it than I am. Our food and our juice, but specific items that end up with a cult following. There are literally movements, whole fan bases for particular dishes and drinks. Buffalo cauliflower, our quinoa onion rings. There are so many dishes. And those are more recent drinks that people remember having their, growing up on, the date almond shake. There are items on our menu that have been part of the menu and part of the fresh pop culture for over 20 years. Sometimes we have to rotate them off to create new favorites, and sometimes we will have a popular upright, especially with social media now. It's even more intense, because people will petition to bring something back on. To be known for your product, I don't think it gets any better than that. I'm Moroccan, Israeli, Canadian. One parent is French, one parent is Spanish. I grew up traveling extensively. I continue to travel extensively. I'm all about one world, one planet, one love, being part of all the cultures. And so all of that is expressed through the food that we serve. We're not just comfort food plant-based, we're healthy plant-based, we're raw plant-based, we're macrobiotic plant-based. And it's not that we're trying to be everything, it's just that on a particular day, you feel like one thing one day and something else the next. I eat here every single day. And Jennifer Houston, who creates all the food, we're not just healthy all the time or comfort all the time or want a cocktail, all day. So we just cover it all. I have no regrets. Yes, absolutely, I would do it all over again. Absolutely. And, there is no answer but to say, everything happens for a reason, and me being here is the sum total of all the mistakes that I've made and all the successes that I've had. Even the hardship in the early years, because it felt like I was a canary in a coal mine for a lot of years, was what made me stronger and tougher and more resilient. And so yeah, no, I wouldn't change a thing. I'm just so glad to be here today. Just sort of, I feel like I'm in nirvana now, in terms of being, of having succeeded and survived and thrived, and to be surrounded by a team who love what they do. To be the founder of a brand that's been around for all these years is so, it's amazing. I have no words for it.